Hey there, my name's Sarah Moore. I'm a content manager at Pinkbike here in Squamish, British Columbia, and I'm here with my Juliana Roubion staff ride. I was actually supposed to go to the launch event for this bike about a year ago in Kingdom Trails in Vermont, but literally a week before the event, I was doing an enduro race in Kamloops, British Columbia, and I crashed and I broke not one, but both of my arms. So needless to say, I did not go to the launch event, but Kaz and Levy tested the men's version of this bike, the Santa Cruz Bronson, as a part of our field test, and they had great things to say about this bike. So I knew that once I got back up to full strength, it was one of the bikes that I was really excited about getting my hands on, and that it would be perfect for the trails that we have here in Squamish. And it turns out that this bike was really good for helping me get my confidence back after my rather traumatic injury. It was the first time that I'd ever broken any bones, and I broke 3 all at once. And so yeah, there was stuff that I was riding on this bike that I had never even ridden before breaking my wrist. So I think that really says something about its just balanced nature and how great of a bike it is. As you may have noticed, this bike has a 29er wheel up front and a 650B wheel in the back. Last year I was riding a Norco Range 29er, and I really enjoyed the bigger wheels for high speed stuff and for kind of those big bomb holes. That being said, I was always worried in bigger compressions that the back wheel would just kind of come up and bite me. So when I got back on a 650B bike on the Juliana Roubion, I just loved it for cornering. It felt so good going off, drops and not having to worry about that back wheel. And so I thought, hey, wouldn't it be great if I could have the best of both worlds? It seems like that's the trendy thing to do these days. That's what all the downhill riders and Enduro World Series riders are doing. And that just kind of fell into place. And so now I have this DT Swiss fork and an Ibis front wheel, and I was able to give it a try. So you may have seen the DT Swiss fork on the Garrig's bikes, Anita and Cairo's bikes in the EWS, but it hasn't really been available for consumers in North America, at least until this year at Sea Otter. The DT Swiss guys released it, so now you can purchase it in North America. So we have a full review of it that Dan Roberts did. He's one of our contributing tech editors. That being said, a couple of things that I think are really cool. DT Swiss has a great setup guide on their website. So you just plug in your weight, you plug in your riding type, and it's super easy. It spits out the data that you need to adjust the fork. It also has an integrated mud flap, which is really useful for riding here in Squamish. And then it also has a T10 Torx wrench hidden in the front axle. And you actually need that T10 Torx to adjust the rebound, to adjust the compression, and to remove the cover on the top of the fork to adjust the air. So it's a nice seamless design, very kind of Swiss and just like nicely all tied together. So something that I was really excited about getting my hands on was this 1-up handlebar. Obviously having broken both wrists, I was excited about the claim that it's more vertically compliant. They've tried to make it feel like a 31/8 bar in a 35mm bar. I've also got the new 1-up stem on here, which they basically thought of an entirely different way of preloading a headset so that you can put the EDC tool in there without having to tap your steer tube. On my top tube, I've got this tube, which usually goes in a specialized swap box. Obviously not all bikes have specialized swap boxes, but it's just a nice package that I just strapped to the top tube there. Speaking of Specialized, you may have noticed my super subtle saddle here. It's the Specialized Power Saddle with Mimic technology. So basically, everybody needs to get measured if you haven't already. It just makes such a big difference to every kind of riding that you do, whether you ride Enduro or cross country. This here is a 168mm saddle, so it's actually the widest saddle that Specialized makes. But because it has that shorter nose, that's what a power saddle is, it's kind of a shorter length saddle, it doesn't feel like it's in the way when I'm riding. And then it has this foam on the front that basically conforms to your body. So I have never had any problems with this saddle. One of the other things that I was able to get my hands on was this FSA Power Box power meter. So it's actually a carbon power meter. So it kind of makes you feel like an elite level athlete when you're riding with a power meter, especially carbon one. I have been training with the watts outside. I've kind of been looking at them. You need a little Garmin computer, and I've been looking at the numbers, and it'll say peak watts for this ride, and it's kind of exciting to follow along with those numbers. But yeah, I think I might start training with power just because it's inspired me to get fitter. So I didn't actually swap these out. This is what came on the bike, but the bike comes with SRAM Code RSC brakes. Super awesome, super powerful. You always feel under control, great modulation on like steep rock rolls and everything. And also super great adjustability, which is really important when you're coming back from a wrist injury and your hands are not fully up to strength, some physios might say that you shouldn't be riding yet, but like, of course you're gonna go out on your bicycle. But yeah, I was able to just kind of bring the lever really close in so that I was kind of in a really strong position and didn't get arm pump, and kind of use those weak hand muscles as little as possible. So when I put on that 29er fork, I had been riding the bike in the high setting, and I actually put it into the low setting just so that that bottom bracket wouldn't go up too much. And it barely went up, actually. When I measured it, it went up a couple millimeters, and it really didn't feel that different on the climbs. I was worried that it would feel, you know, like the front end was really high, and it did not feel that way at all. It still climbed really well. That being said, where I thought the bike would really shine, because it has about a degree slacker head tube angle, that in the steep stuff it would, you know, really shine. I would really notice a difference. You know, I did notice it a little bit. It just didn't steer that well in corners and when the trail wasn't super steep. So yeah, I wouldn't really recommend going out and buying yourself a 29er fork, buying yourself a 29er wheel, and trying this configuration at home, at least on this bike. So there you have it. That's my 2019 Juliana Roubion staff ride. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. And yeah, I'm gonna take it for a ride now.